everyone, my name is Rizky. I'm from International Trade, Class 1E, and in this video I want to present an overview of the article titled Global Trade Liberalization and the Developing Countries, written by Lucas Daniels, a research officer at the International Monetary Fund in London, published in the International Policy Brief series under the Social Science and Law Journey of Policy Review and Development Strategies. Okay, recent decades have seen rapid growth of the world economy. This growth has been driven in part by the even faster rise in international trade. The growth in trade is in turn the result of both technological development and concerted effort to reduce trade barriers. Some developing countries have opened their own economies to take full advantage of the opportunity for economic development through trade, but many have not. Remaining trade barriers in industrial countries are concentrated in the agricultural products and labor-intensive manufacture, in which developing countries have a comparative advantage. Further trade liberalization in this area particularly by both industrial and developing countries, would help the poor escape from extreme poverty while also benefiting the industrial countries themselves. So, integration into the world economy has proven a powerful means for countries to promote economic growth, development, and poverty reduction. Over the past 20 years, the growth of world trade has averaged 6% per year, twice as fast as world output. But trade has been an engine of growth for much longer, since 1947, when the General Agreement of Tariff and Trade (GATT) was created. The world trading system has benefited from a form of multilateral trade liberalization, as well as from unilateral and regional liberalization. Indeed, the last of these 8 rounds, the so-called Uruguay round, completed in 1994, led to the establishment of the World Trade Organization to help administer the growing body of multilateral trade agreements. So, this consideration point to the need to liberalize trade further, although protection has declined substantially over the past 3 decades. It remains significant in both industrial and developing countries, particularly in areas such as agricultural products or labor-intensive manufacture and service, where developing countries have a comparative advantage. Industrial countries maintain high protection in the agricultural sector and area of very high tariff, including tariff peaks, tariff above 15%, tariff escalation, tariff that increase with the level of processing, and restrictive tariff quota, limit on the amount that can be imported at a lower tariff rate. Average tariff protection in agriculture is about 9 times higher than a manufacturing. In addition, agriculture subsidies in industrial countries, which are equivalent of 2 per 3 of Africa's total GDP, undermine developing countries' agricultural sector and export by depressing world price and preempting market. For example, the European Commission is spending €2.7 billion per year making sugar profitable for European farmers. At the same time, that is shutting out low-cost import They now of account sugar for 1/3 of the world trade, up from about a quarter in the early 1970s. Many developing countries have substantially increased their export of manufacture and service relative to traditional commodity export. Manufacture have risen to 80% of developing country export. Moreover, trade between developing countries has grown rapidly, with 40% of their export now going to other developing countries. However, the progress of integration has been uneven in recent decades. Progress has been very impressive for a number of developing countries in Asia and to a lesser extent in Latin America. These countries have become successful because they choose to participate in global trade, helping them to attract the bulk of foreign direct investment in developing countries. This is true of China and India since they embrace trade liberalization and other market-oriented reform, and also of higher income countries in Asia like Korea and Singapore that were themselves poor up to the 1970s. But progress has been less rapid for many other countries, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. The poorest countries have seen their share of world trade decline substantially. And without lowering their own barriers to trade, there is further marginalization. About 75 developing and transition economies, including virtually all of the least developed countries, fit the description. In contrast to the successful integrator, they depend disproportionately on production and export of traditional commodities. The reasons for their marginalization are complex, including deep-seated structural problems with policy framework and institution and protection at home and abroad. So, this consideration point to the need to liberalize trade further, although protection has declined substantially over the past three decades. It remains significant in both industrial and developing countries, particularly in areas such as agricultural products or labor-intensive manufacture and service, where developing countries have a comparative advantage. Industrial countries maintain high protection in the agricultural sector and area of very high tariff, including tariff peaks, tariff above 15%, tariff escalation, tariff that increase with the level of processing, and restrictive tariff quota, limit on the amount that can be imported at a lower tariff rate. Average tariff protection in agriculture is about 9 times higher than a manufacturing. In addition, agriculture subsidies in industrial countries, which are equivalent of 2 per 3 of Africa's total GDP, undermine developing countries' agricultural sector and export by depressing world price and preempting market. For example, the Europe Commission is spending 2.7 billion euro per year making sugar profitable for European farmers. At the same time, that is shutting out low-cost import of tropical sugar. Okay, next, in industrial countries, protection of manufacturing is generally low, but it remains high of many labor-intensive products produced by developing countries. For example, the US, which has an average import tariff of only 5%, has tariff peaks on almost 300 individual products. They are largely on textile and clothing, which account for 90% of the 1 billion annually in US. Imports from the poorest country, a figure that is held down by import quota as well as tariff. Other labor-intensive manufacturers are also disproportionately subject to tariff peaks and tariff escalation, which inhibit the diversification of export toward higher value-added products. Many developing countries themselves have high tariff. On average, their tariff on the industrial products they import are 3 to 4 times as high as those of industrial countries, and they exhibit the same characteristic of tariff peaks and escalation. Tariffs on agriculture are even higher, 18%, than those of industrial products. Non-traditional measures to impede trade are harder to quantity and assess, but they are becoming more significant as traditional tariff protection and such barriers as important cost decline. Anti-dumping measures are on the rise in both industrial and developing countries, but are faced disproportionately by developing countries. Regulation requiring imports to conform to technical and sanitary standards comprise another important hurdle. They impose costs on exporters that can exceed the benefit to consumer. European Union regulation and aflatoxins, for example, are costing Africa 1.3 billion in export of cereal, dried fruit, and nuts per European like chef. Is this an appropriate balance of cost and benefit? For a variety of reasons, preferential access schemes for poorer countries have not proven very effective at increasing market access for these countries. Such schemes often exclude or provide less generous benefits for the highly protected product of most interest to exporters in the poorest countries. They are often complex, non-transparent, and subject to various exemptions and conditions that limit benefit or terminate them once significant market access is achieved. Further liberalization by both industrial and developing countries will be needed to realize trade potential as a driving force for economic growth and development. Greater efforts by industrial countries and the international community more broadly are called for to remove the trade barriers facing development countries, particularly the poorest countries. Although quota under the so-called multi-fiber agreement are due to be phased out by 2005. Speedier liberalization of textile and clothing and of agriculture is particularly important. Similarly, the elimination of tariff peaks and escalation in agriculture and manufacturing also needs to be pursued. In turn, developing countries will strengthen their own economies. If they made a sustained effort to reduce their own trade barriers further, enhanced market access for the poorest developing countries would provide them with the means to harness trade for development and poverty reduction, offering the poorest countries that and quota-free access to world markets would greatly benefit these countries at little cost to the rest of the world. The recent market opening initiative of the EU and some other countries are important steps in this regard. To be completely effective, such access should be made permanent, extended to all goods, and accompanied by simple, transparent rules of origin. This would give the poorest countries the confidence to persist with difficult domestic reform and ensure effective use of their pre-life and aid flows. Okay, that's all about my article that I searched. So, thank you and see you. Bye.